Tenants have a lot of questions when it comes to evictions and terminations. Terminations are what happen all the time. At the end of every landlord-tenant relationship, someone is giving the other person notice that someone is moving out. So either the tenant is giving their landlord a notice that says, hey, I'm moving out at the end of April, or the landlord is giving the tenant notice that says, hey, I'm giving you your notice, you're going to have to move out at the end of April. And a termination notice like that doesn't go on your record or anything like that. There's nothing inherently wrong with having a termination. But there are only certain times when a landlord can give you a termination. There are basically two types of rental agreements. On the one hand, you've got month-to-month agreements. And in those types of rental agreements, both sides are deciding every month, okay, let's keep this going. And both sides can decide at any time, we want to stop things. We want to stop this relationship. When you're in a month-to-month rental agreement, ordinarily either side can call an end to things by giving the other side 30 days written notice. There is an exception to that rule. If you've been living at a home for more than a year, your landlord has to give you 60 days notice before they can terminate your month-to-month rental agreement. But no matter how long you've been living somewhere, you can always give a 30-day notice. The other type of rental agreements are leases for a fixed amount of time. Usually it's a 1-year lease, but it could be a 6-month lease or a 2-year lease or anything. And in those kinds of rental agreements that are for a set amount of time, no one is allowed to call things off unless they have a valid legal reason. So a lot of the times, landlords will give a tenant a notice of termination in the middle of a rental agreement that's for a fixed amount of time, and there's only certain reasons that landlords could do that. One reason a landlord might do that is if the tenant is not paying their rent. A landlord has the right to give you what's usually called a 72-hour notice, and that tells a tenant you have 3 days to pay your rent, and if you don't pay your rent, the landlord is saying that you have to move out. Another kind of notice would be if you were breaking some kind of a rule at the home. Like for instance, there might be a rule that says you can't store things on your balcony. And if you keep storing things on your balcony, your landlord may be able to give you a notice that says, hey, look, stop storing stuff on your balcony or your rental agreement is going to end and you're going to have to move out. If you're a tenant and you get a termination notice from your landlord, that's probably a good time to consult with a lawyer and find out if the notice that the landlord's given you is valid and if you have any way to solve this problem. If a landlord has given you a termination notice and you don't move out by the time the landlord has told you to, the landlord can go to court and file something called an eviction. An eviction is a certain type of legal case. And when a landlord files an eviction, you're going to get paperwork delivered to your house that tells you to come to court on a certain day. You can go to court by yourself, but you should go with a lawyer. And once you're in court, the judge will give you and the landlord the opportunity to try and work out an agreement. But sometimes you can't work out an agreement for one reason or another. And if that's your situation, you're going to have the right to go to a trial a few days later.